Hello again. Hello, YouTube. So I'm going to read you something and then I'm going to comment on the title of my video. Article 4, Section 3 of the United States Constitution states, new states may be admitted by Congress into this union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the junction of two or more states or parts of states without the consent of the legislature of the states concerned, as well as of the Congress. And then it goes on for some other stuff, but that's what I want to make. Article 4, Section 4 states, the United States shall guarantee every state in this union a Republican legislature or the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. You might be wondering, what the heck does that have to do with the title of my video? Well, it's very simple. The city of Seattle has now been cordoned off, or at least part of it in the 6-block radius has been cordoned off into something called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or as I like to call it, the Democratic Republic of Antifa. So with all the protests and all the defund the police and the general chaos that's going on, protesters in Seattle have seized off the eastern precinct of the now shut down police area and have erected fences and are now have armed guards restricting travel into that area. And they are now calling themselves the Capitol Hill Free Zone or Autonomous Zone, and are beginning to extort the business owners in there, saying that they must pay a fee to open their business, and you cannot travel to and from there without their authorization. So now what we effectively have is a state within a state in the city of Seattle, in the state of Washington. So now we have a de facto separate nation inside of one of the 50 states of the union. And the Democratic mayor of Seattle and Governor Jay Inslee of the state of Washington have done nothing. Nothing at all. They haven't called in the National Guard to kick these people out. They haven't tried to barricade them in. No, they have allowed these anarchists to take control of part of a city and basically carve off a de facto country inside of the state. So, violation of the fourth article, both sections 3 and 4 of the United States Constitution, saying that no state may be formed within a state, and it is the job of the United States, the Congress, and the state legislatures to protect their citizens against invasion and domestic violence. So Minneapolis has failed to do this. Seattle has failed to do this. Los Angeles, funnily enough, this hasn't happened yet, though our mayor and our governor continue to dither about and do nothing about it. And we now have the beginnings of an anarchist takeover. Something similar like this happened about almost 160 years ago. And that was when South Carolina seceded from the Union, broke away, and became the first of 11 southern states to form the Confederate States of America, which then led to the Civil War. What is that saying? Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. It sounds like we're doomed to repeat the history of the Civil War area, because now we have citizens thinking that it's perfectly acceptable and legal to take control of part of a city police city precinct, erect walls, and declare an autonomous zone where they say that The authority of the United States, the authority of the state government, the authority of the president, the authority of Congress does not apply. Effectively, by doing this, they have declared themselves de facto enemies of the United States of America. What do we do? And why has Governor Jay Inslee of Washington and the mayor of Seattle not done anything about this? I keep seeing people, and they've been saying this all along. Well, why doesn't, if President Trump is so concerned, why doesn't he just march the military into the state and just shut it all down? Here's the problem. Unless he invokes the insurrection acts of the 1800s, I think it's 1807, the president is not allowed to just march federal troops into a state without government, without state permission or without state request. Trump cannot just march the military into the city of Seattle and begin gunning down these people. However, he has said to Jay Inslee and the mayor of Seattle, I don't know the mayor's name, I'll have to look that up, but he has said either you take care of this or I will. Trump is not above marching troops in, but he has to wait to see that the state government is not going to do anything. Unfortunately, he is restricted by state law or by U.S. law that says unless the leaders of a state ask for the president's personal help, he cannot just march the U.S. military into that zone and take it back. However, this is setting a dangerous precedence in the United States where we've got brazen people who are willing to carve off parts of a city and take over. Do you now see why we cannot just disband the police and defund the police? This is exactly why we need the police. For things like this. This is no longer just protesting. This is outright rebellion. And as long as we allow groups like Antifa and extreme leftist groups to do this sort of thing, we are not going to solve any problems. This is just going to make it worse. Yes, overall the police system, I'm fine with that. Defunding them, not a good idea. Disbanding them, certainly not a good idea. What happens if they start, because this guy would think he's going to think, if I'm a liberal state, I can just go, well, you let the people in Seattle go and take over and break off, take control of part of the city. So if I'm a whole liberal state like California, for instance, which likes to bill itself as the progressive bastion of freedom, what's to stop Governor Gavin Newsom of my home state of California going, well, I think that California should be its own country like it was in 1850 and become the California Republic again. And I'm going to declare myself President Newsom of the Republic of California. The other thing is most people don't see that we're playing a very dangerous game here where now we've got armed citizens taking control of cities. What happens when they take over a state or half a state or a state or another, or the states decide, oh, I don't feel like being part of the union anymore. We're setting a dangerous precedence, and I'm becoming worried. And the more that the Democratic leadership of the states where all this rioting and looting is happening continue to do inaction, they are putting all of our lives at danger. Or in danger, I should say. Now you wonder why the Second Amendment people are so rabid about keeping their rights to bear weapons. This right here is exactly why we who believe in the Second Amendment so strongly we don't want it taken. Because now you've got roving bands of armed people taking over cities, destroying businesses, and disrupting public life. Never mind that COVID was a problem. Now it's apparently not. Never mind that poor George Floyd's death was politicized and they've used him as a martyr. Never mind that the Black Lives Matter people went from uh, being understanding to shutting out the white people. We are seeing full-blown rebellion in the United States, and anybody who says differently, you're simply selling something called fiction. You're peddling nothing but fiction. There's a problem, and it's getting worse. And yeah, so this is gonna only get worse as long as the people in power continue to be inactive and they keep restricting the police and vilifying the police and making them the bad guys and trying to get rid of the protections of the average citizen. This type of stuff's only gonna get worse. We're in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. So, yep, this is right here. This is what happens with the emotional defund the police, disband the police type thinking. You lose parts of a city to armed thugs. COVID devastated us, and now these people are going to devastate us, and yet people don't seem to know or don't seem to care. You can no longer claim ignorance. This is blatant rebellion. And I shudder to see what's next. All I gotta say is I hope the president does put an end to this, and I don't think he's afraid to. You can't claim ignorance. That's it. No longer claim ignorance. The Constitution's being violated by these people, and I think we should declare them as traitors to the United States, but that's just me. All right, you have a good day. Bye.